brought this up was, there are people who would rather buy an antenna than make one because it's easier. It's only easier because you never saw it done. So with help from some of you here tonight, we're going to build an antenna.
When you buy one, it's already tuned, right?
Nope, they're not tuned when you buy it.
Oh,
No,
that's not what the ad says.
Yeah, but the ad's wrong. They always are wrong. So we got a 20-meter antenna here. And we're going to, I'll do this, I like working in meters. So you take 300 over the frequency, and I chose, what did I do, 14.2 to start with. Now that means, if you're looking at it in meters, from this end to this end would be 21.126. Meters. Okay. So anyway, because that's, 20 meters is kind of just a relative figure for a 20-meter antenna. If you're looking at it in feet, that distance would be roughly 33 feet, but it's actually 32.95, but we'll call it 32 feet. So using those figures, you're going to cut that in half, and each half will be like 16.5 feet from one end to the other. So let's build one. And like Tim said, when you buy one, you're going to spend a lot of money for it. It will not be in tune, and you have to tune it anyway. So you're going to be trimming off the ends. So why not just take a little trip to Home Depot, spend about $4, and you've got a 20-meter antenna. Now, you're close. Let's measure out. We'll make a working antenna, and somebody gets to take it home. Go with that.
But this is THHN, and it's MTW, so this has a different velocity factor, so
Well,
it's
the
gonna.
velocity factor does figure in.
Yes, it does.
It does. He's a smarty there. Well,
That's why you tune it.
if you wouldn't
That's why you
have
buy a radio with a tuner on it, then you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Okay, so the skin on it, whatever that's made from, which is what? Plastic? I don't know. That's going to change the velocity factor. That velocity factor is the speed at which the antenna passes the radio wave. It's going to slow it down, so that we'll leave enough wire to compensate for that. So we're looking at, what's half of that?
16.5.
16.5, that's right. So this is only a 10.
But you need a job?
Terry, where did you get 33 feet from 21 meters?
468 over the frequency.
But
468 is for
21 meters is 69 feet.
What do you mean 21?
20 meters. 20 meters is about 66 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
300 over 14.2 is 21.126 meters.
Right.
Convert that to feet.
10.56 on a side,
Yeah, you're cutting it in half.
right?
No,
You said from one end to the other end, it's 21.26 meters. That's 69.
that's only if it's a full wave antenna.
That's 69 feet. Instead of the 33
We'll go with meters.
that you quoted here.
There's always one. Where did he come
Should
from?
we start
No,
the,
Terry.
should we
you
start the
figured
video over again?
Your 21 meters is a full wave,
Right.
but
What
you're
are you
making a
saying?
half wave dipole, aren't you?
I'm making the half wave, yeah. But
that's-
we need two of them.
That'll
So
make a full wave antenna.
I'm not doing the whole way. I'm doing, you're right. I'm making a half wave dipole.
Each element is a quarter wave.
That's right.
The overall length would be half of that 21 meters,
Right.
which would be.
What is the formula for making a dipole? 300 over the frequency, right?
No, that's the formula for finding out the wavelength
What's the,
in
what's,
meters.
and you divide that by
2.
2. So what am I
Half
looking
wave.
for?
So
I figured that wrong. 16.5 on a side?
Roughly, yeah.
Right, that's what I had. Where did I have that?
No, you had
Actually, it's more like 15.6.
Okay.
you had 30, okay.
Now that I'm back to this,
You ready?
16 and a half on the side.
And
You'll correct the numbers.
So we've got,
I just,
it says stop.
it's like
Where's,
10 meters overall, so it's 5 and a half. Why don't we go back and do it in feet?
if I had a, oh, it's 10 feet. Okay, there's 10 feet. Okay. So I need, let's go with 16. They used to make these in bigger letters. What'd I say, 16 and a half?
You get a demo going with CC eventually.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, we're standing,
I'll let you sit here a second.
no problem.
Why don't you wave to the camera?
Hi, Cameron.
You'll be on YouTube.
What do you do?
oh gosh.
You don't wanna know.
I'm sure of that. I'm not social anyway.
Oh, I found it. Okay. Now, take that. We can throw this away now. We just double that over. Close enough for government work. Okay, you guys can continue on. I wrote it down here, right? I just put it up there.
Well, that's all fine, but the only thing that we can see is what you write on the board.
I wrote it wrong on my board.
Oh, I guess it's not gonna be a loop then.
Now we need to skin them off. Now the trip to the hardware store, this was a 10-footer. They're, depending on where you buy them, run around $8 to $10. I'm gonna pass these around. These are what you make from that.
If you see a plumbing truck in the neighborhood, you can probably beg a couple little 1 or 2 inch offcuts.
You could. Now I put my MacGyver tool away too soon.
Or you could use the top of your water bottle
But what? Top of your
for the
water?
end insulators and the center insulators.
Oh, you could, yeah.
Why spend money you don't have to spend? Just go look at a recycle bin.
Okay, I'll start passing this around. That's one of them. And how do you make them? Well, I happen to have one here that I didn't even start on yet.
Pretty good.
I found this to be the simplest way. Fire up your Burns-O-Matic.
Terry, when you're cutting your wires for your antenna, is it not prudent to calculate the length that you think you need,
Right.
and then cut it
Pretty close to what?
cut it longer?
It's cut longer, yeah.
Like, if you figure it's gonna be, 10 foot 6 inches, cut it 10 foot 9 or 11 foot.
What he said.
Otherwise you need a wire stretcher. Yeah, that's right.
I don't think that's a thing.
My,
Oh, you didn't know the
16
cable
yeah.
splicer I used to work with.
so, you don't need a drill. Here's how I did them.
Is that not pretty smoke?
Wait a minute.
It should be setting off those smoke alarms.
It was fire.
There is one light above your head.
Cool, this'll be fun.
Oh, boy.
I think I'm gonna wait for
That
Parkinson's.
might be a good idea. At least we got fire department people close.
Oh, that's good, they're over here practicing.
I'd make a good video.
Fire over there.
Yeah. Hey, look, I've seen fire trucks close. I don't need that.
Why do you need insulators? Well, first of all, to separate in the middle, I have one, that's one we'll make now. The ones that's passing around are the end ones, and the center one you need an extra hole.
Now, is this kilowatt type antenna or?
Sure. Okay, we're gonna skip this part because apparently I'm out of fuel. But, when you do burn through them, it leaves little bumps on them, you gotta do something to get rid of them. So you take your MacGyver tool and go into it and scrape them off. And on the middle one, you're going to put on a point that will reach through it, and so you can run a rope through it or something to hold it up in the middle. So now that we have the ends done, right, that's the center one. We can call this the center. I don't know which one's which now. Oh, it's gonna have to be a little longer than that, I guess. You have your knife out yet?
Did that mean yes or no?
That was it.
Him flipping his gum, is that a yes or a no? He's ignoring me.
See, when we did this out on the trail, there was a lot of people helping out.
I'm holding the camera, so.
We made a 40 yet. This will be the 20.
A phone?
Not the kind you're used to drinking.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You better not be used to drinking that kind, or any kind, for that
Well,
matter.
a Colt 45 and a 40.
Not this
good
month.
stuff.
Yeah. That's
So,
why I put the brown paper bag on it.
Yeah.
Holy strings.
I sat outside a liquor store one day drinking a bottle of water out of a paper bag, and it was really cool. People thought I was drinking, but I don't drink, so. Cops are okay with it. One day I was going past a school and it says, "Watch children." So I was driving a van, so I pulled over. The cops had another story about that too.
Oh, sure, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Were you at the playground?
Yeah,
Yeah.
were you there too? Apparently the sign isn't really it's telling you what to do when you're in your van.
Right next to a 100-pound bit.
They thought I was a priest,
Sure.
so that was a little short. So we'll use this one as an example. And see, if you cut it too short when it's on 20 meters, you can make 15 or 10 out of it. There you go, 10. There's your dipole. Now I'll save the time because and right there's where you solder your connections to for your coax. And unlike some people that I know, the idea is to put the center conductor to one side, the shield to the other. There was a guy.
Does that not there help with tuning?
Yeah, it'll help it a lot. So anyway, and you think it's funny to say that, but there are people who have bundled them all together and soldered them all to one spot and wondered why the antenna was a dead short.
I'm not even that dumb.
Well, you sure?
Well, not on that one anyway.
Yeah, not on that one he wasn't. So, there you have it. And we'll stop at that, because to put the cable and all that onto it is another story for another day. But there's your 20-meter dipole. It's the start of it. Somebody can have this to take along home and finish if they would like a 20-meter dipole. And on the ends, the whole story there is just take one of the jobbers that I passed around and put one of these on that. Rope goes to the other side, and that's what you tie it off with. And it won't be in tune. Your antenna analyzer, or if you want to play around with an SWR meter, you can get it. It's going to take a while, but that'll get you on the air in 20. You'll probably have to shorten it a little bit to be where you want it. You want it to be in the middle of the phone band if that's the band you're working, or the middle of the CW band if that's the part of 20 you're working. So there you go. Little trip to Home Depot saves you about $50. Any other comments from anybody?
How long?
Valid or unund with that?
I would always put a 6 turns of coax about this size at the feed point to keep the RF off of the coax shield. And something that I proved while we were on the trail, you don't want 750 ohm cable on a 70 ohm, 72 ohm antenna. So if you want to save even more money on coax for HF, walk through Walmart's clearance section, and I find it there all the time. Big rolls of RG6. This is RG6. Cable TV stuff. You can pass this stuff around if you want to look at them. The cable TV stuff is 75 ohms. This is 72. It matches better than 50 ohm coax. And what will that do when you put it into your radio? It'll be a 1.5 to 1. That's all. It won't be flat 1 to 1, because nobody ever gets that on a dipole anyway. It'll be 1.5 to 1, 75 ohm into a 50 ohm.
Wait, so how long is this end to end? I mean.
34 feet approximately.
34 feet?
33 feet.
Okay, so that number is,
16 and a half
okay.
for
Well,
that.
this one is, I think it's gonna be a little below.
Gonna be what?
A little below. The actual calculation should be like 34.64 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, from end
Or
to
at
end.
most halfway.
So it'll be somewhere in the ballpark. Use your tuner.
Yeah, that's what they're made for.
I don't like tuners.
So why couldn't you just put a quarter wave of 75 ohm coax at the feed point,
Here's your other end.
and then
Why?
use 50 ohm for the rest of your feed line?
You could, but what's the point? It's only a slight mismatch. But you could. Of course, that changes as you change frequency, but it's close enough.
Or you could just put it up as an inverted V
And be at
and
50 ohm.
get a much better feed point impedance.
Right. Inverted Vs do work much better for a number of reasons. Anything else? Anybody? That's all I got.